Well, looks like this thing's still working. Didn't expect that, honestly. Been fiddling with the junctions most of the morning. Heat gets into the wiring, starts messing with contacts. But the signal meter finally bumped when I grounded it. So, I guess I'll just keep talking. Not that I expect an answer, but it's better than the silence. Most days now, it's just the wind and the hum off the inverter. I'm using the old relay out by the southern ridge. It's a tower that used to handle utility signals. Nothing special. I rigged a broadcast loop through some coax I pulled off a burnt-out camper van, patched it into a scavenged CB, and a cracked solar charge unit I barely got working. There's a UPS battery from one of those old telecom huts, half dead, but it holds enough for short bursts. So if I cut out mid-sentence, that's probably why. I'm not aiming for anything polished. I guess I just need to hear my own voice. Or maybe it's that quiet that gets to you more than you expect. The kind that doesn't just sit outside your window. It seeps into your ribs, your guts, and it makes you forget what normal sounded like. So this is me trying not to forget. Anyway, mornings are the worst. You'd think with no one around it wouldn't matter, but it's the light. That pale, useless gray that makes you think of dew and shade and wet dirt. Then you step outside, and the dust stings your nostrils, and your skin feels like paper. I check the drum every day just in case there's a shift in the air pressure, something to pull a trace of condensation. Haven't seen a real drop in. Hell, I stopped counting. The worst part is, the ground looks like it remembers what water used to be. You can still see the split lines where puddles used to settle, like the ghost of a creek that ran past my old place. Not anymore. I walked back there a few weeks ago. Took almost a full tank of effort, if you know what I mean. By the time I got near it, I didn't recognize it. The fence was gone, roof half caved. But it was the silence again that made it unfamiliar. I used to wake up to frogs, real ones, croaking from the irrigation ditches. When it first started, nobody thought much of it. Just a dry season, they said. Little La Niña pattern, someone on the news mumbled. Water restrictions kicked in. No lawn sprinklers. Odd even days, that kind of thing. I remember the mayor standing in front of a municipal fountain they'd shut off, saying we'd be fine if folks just cut back a little. I cut back. We all did. But the skies didn't care. It was the second year that scared people. Not because the reservoirs were low. They were already half mud by then. But because the snow never came. Whole winter passed without more than a dusting on the ridge lines. By spring, the talk had shifted from conservation to rationing. Lines started forming outside water depots. Bottles ran out faster than they could ship them in. Trucks got hijacked on the interstate. Then they stopped coming altogether. I was still in the city then. Not a big one. A place with maybe 50, 60,000 folks. We used to have parades on Main Street, and the kind of coffee shops where they remembered your name. It didn't go bad all at once. Some folks held on, figured the rains would return. The government would send relief. But every week, it got a little worse. Power cutbacks, rolling blackouts, then brownouts, then nothing but the sun, all day long, without a breeze. It does something to people. The thirst, I mean. Not just the physical part, though that's bad enough. Waking up with your tongue like cardboard, and eyes that sting every time you blink. No, I mean the way it makes people look at each other. Suspicious. Hungry, but not for food. Hungry for the idea that maybe someone else has what they need. I left after the fire. Someone lit a building near the edge of town. Rumor was they were hoarding barrels in the basement. I don't know if it was true. Doesn't matter now. But I watched it burn from the overpass, and something just clicked. I packed what I could into a wagon, one of those big garden carts, the kind with rubber wheels, and I walked. West, mostly. Toward the hills. Away from the asphalt stink and the noise of people turning on each other. I slept in drainage tunnels for a while. Then, in a collapsed rest area that still had a working hand crank radio. That's where I first heard the silence on the bands. Not static, just nothing. Like the air gave up trying to carry voices. I've kept moving since then. Not every day. You have to pace yourself out here. But I learned to spot places where water might linger. Shallow depressions. Shade pockets under metal debris. Sometimes there's still a trace if you dig deep enough. Not to drink, but to cool your hands. That's enough some days. There's a grove of dead trees east of here. Must have been planted decades ago when there was still an aquifer feeding this region. Their roots are all exposed now, like ribs. I go there sometimes, not for any reason. Just to stand in the space where things used to grow. You start remembering details more sharply when you have no new ones to replace them. I remember my dad's tool shed, the smell of mineral oil and old rags. I remember the feel of a wet rag on the back of my neck after we'd bale hay, back when that was still a thing people did. I remember my mom's iced tea, with actual lemon slices in it. And I remember pouring half a glass out for the dog without thinking. That memory stings more than most. Sometimes I imagine what it would have been like if the drought had come slower. Like a tide going out, inch by inch, so you had time to adjust. But that's not how it felt. It felt like everything cracked open at once. You'd see animals wandering into roads, ribs poking out, tongues lolling, coyotes, deer, even a bear once, near the train yard. It was just standing there in the heat shimmer, swaying like it was drunk. I didn't move. It didn't either. Eventually it laid down. I didn't go check. Anyway, this rig here, the transmitter, it was part of a local broadcast system, I think. Maybe emergency weather stuff. The repeater dishes are all rusted, but I found enough copper intact to loop a signal. I've got one panel still tracking the sun, kind of, and a backup charger I rigged from a couple lawn lights I stripped. Takes a while to juice up, but if I don't drain it all at once, I can usually get a few minutes of voice out every couple days. I don't know if anyone's left to hear it. I haven't seen another person in weeks. There was someone's camp along the dry riverbed about 8 days ago. Char marks, a little trash pile, maybe a cooking pot. I didn't stick around. There's a balance you learn out here, between hoping for company and staying alive. Strangers are a gamble, even the ones who don't look it. I carry a little tin whistle, not for playing, but for distance signaling. If I ever hear something, footsteps, movement, I blow it, just one short blast. If someone answers, maybe we talk. If not, I walk the other way. You learn to read tracks. Not just animal prints, but the kind of boot someone wears, how fresh the heel mark is, whether the stride is steady or limping, whether they were alone. It's not about hunting or anything like that. It's about avoiding surprise. That's half the game now. The rest, staying cool, staying quiet, and finding water. Always back to water. Even now, after all this time, I still turn my head at the sound of something dripping. It's almost never real. Just a trick of the wind, or the creak of metal cooling at dusk. But that reflex, it never fades. You hear something liquid, and your whole body goes rigid, like prey smelling a predator, but backwards. You're not afraid. You're desperate. I had a dog once, Maximum. Border collie. Smart as hell. He'd nudge the faucet when he was thirsty, even if the line was dry. I kept him with me as long as I could, but I don't want to talk about that. Not now. I guess if someone saw me now, really looked, they might not even be sure I was a person right away. More like a shadow. My clothes are all sun-bleached, faded to this colorless gray. My face is just dust now. I lost my glasses back near the pump station, trying to take apart some panels. And I haven't seen a mirror in I don't know how long. Maybe the last time was a gas station window, when the sun hit just right. But the body remembers. Where it hurts, where something rubs raw, where I need to stop and wrap my foot again. No medkit. Well, there's cloth strips, torn from an old shirt, rinsed in gray water, and dried on a metal sheet. Everything else is just guessing. If it doesn't hurt sharp, it's probably okay. That's the rule now. I don't sleep deep. It's never dreams that wake me, just noise. Once a gust of wind pushed an empty bottle across the pavement, and my heart damn near quit. That's when I realized the worst sounds aren't the loud ones, it's the sudden ones, when the silence breaks and your brain has to catch up. Dreams are strange these days. A lot of water in them. Not oceans or rivers. Just ordinary things. Droplets on glass, wet boots, a dog shaking rain off its fur. In one dream, I was standing on a bridge, looking down, and there was water. Real water. I didn't jump. I just stood there. I guess your brain serves up what your body's starving for. I came across a buried cistern once. Concrete tank beside some old house. Probably 500 gallons back when it was full. Almost all gone now, just a film at the bottom. I scraped it off with a little pot, filtered it through cloth into a bottle. There was dirt in it, and the taste. Chlorine mixed with rot. But after 3 days without a sip, it felt like the best thing I'd ever had. First time in a long while I cried. Regretted it right after. Waste of fluid. Everything has a price when you have to give it back. Feels hotter lately. Maybe spring. There's no official way to know anymore. No stats, no weather guys on TV. But plastic melts quicker. The sun doesn't just warm, it burns. Even through fabric. I used to think you couldn't get a sunburn on a cloudy day. Now it happens daily. Shade. That's more precious than cold. Shade is survival. I set up a kind of shelter under a sheet metal awning I found near a truck stop. Pulled an old trailer into place, hung some tarp scraps, threw dead branches on top. Cuts the light a bit. I stay there during the day. At night, I move. If there's no wind, food isn't food anymore. It's just survival math. There's still some canned stuff out there. I open them slow. Half are bloated, spoiled. Some are just sour and slimy. But I still get lucky. Veggies keep best. Once a week I catch a lizard. Their skin's tough, but if they're alive, they're pulling something from the land. Sometimes I roast them on scrap wire like tiny skewers. Sometimes I just swallow. Doesn't matter what it tastes like. Meat is protein. Spoiled meat is death. I tried to grow things once. Found some plastic bins, drilled drainage holes, filled them with a mix of dust and old compost, scraped from a pile behind a busted greenhouse. Dug up some dried bean seeds, still intact. I wrapped them in wet cloth, waited for them to sprout. They did, a little. I set the bins under glass to trap heat. But without water, everything dies. I used almost 3 liters in 1 week trying to keep them alive. Then I realized I was staggering. I chose me. Sometimes I still talk out loud, even when I don't turn the transmitter on. just to remember how words work, what they sound like. Dreams start to mix things up. One day I woke up and couldn't remember the word shovel. I was holding it. I knew what it did, but my brain couldn't reach the name. Just thought, that digging thing scared the hell out of me. When the words start slipping, you know you're not far from losing the rest. I carry scraps of paper with me, little notes, words I want to keep, simple ones. Water, north, rubber, stove, sometimes even names, just in case someone finds this someday. Just so they know someone was here, that we were. Yesterday I found an old school bus, flipped over but not burned. Inside was scorched from the sun, but in the back compartment, a plastic container. Inside was wet cloth. I didn't ask why or how, I just wrung it out. A drop landed on my palm. Didn't believe it at first, then licked it. Salty. Maybe sweat, maybe worse. But my body didn't react bad. The trick is not to drink fast. Sip. Let it sit. I learned that from an old geologist I met a year ago. He died a week later. But the advice was good. Used to think loneliness was just not having people around. But now, I know it's when there's no one to wake if something's wrong. No one to share the quiet with. Silence, when no one else is in it, turns against you. So you talk into a mic, not because someone's listening, just so you don't unravel. I don't mark dates anymore. Time's not real now. Just light and dark, and footsteps between them. Sometimes I hear a distant engine, maybe a generator, maybe a car burning the last of its fuel. I sit and wonder, should I go? But if the sound fades, it's gone like it never was. Just a shimmer in the air. Funny what I miss most. Not food, not even rain. Smells. Just smells. Fresh cut grass, campfire smoke, wet pavement. Things that used to be background noise for life. Now everything smells like melted plastic, dust, and sweat. I still have one old camera. Film. Battery's long dead, but sometimes I crank the lever. Click. Like I took a shot. The film's probably blank. But the motion, it's a ritual. A way to frame a moment, even if it won't last. Found a notebook in a car once. Kids' drawings. Animals. Elephants. Lions. Giraffes. All smiling. I almost cried just looking. Some of those might be extinct by now, or locked in preserves, if any are left. I took one page with me. A whale swimming, big as a bus. Underneath the kid wrote, "He sings." I taped it inside my shelter, just because. Strange, but sometimes I sing. Quietly. Old songs my dad used to play in the garage. Country, 70s stuff. Songs about rivers, highways, coming home. I don't even know how I remember the lyrics. My mouth just moves, even when there's no tune. There's this trick I learned somewhere, maybe back when I still had people around. If you keep a small rock in your mouth, just under your tongue, it helps with the thirst a little. Makes you think you've got moisture. Doesn't last, but it buys you an hour, sometimes more if you keep still. I use a bit of quartz I found near a dried-up creek. Smooth, fits just right under the tongue. That stone's probably saved me more times than I can count. I walked past a field of bones last week. I think it used to be cattle. Hundreds of them, all curled up under the sun like they just folded. No scavengers anymore. Nothing left to do the cleanup. Nature stopped recycling. Even the bugs gave up. Just sun and dust now. Bones don't rot without water. They just bleach and crack and stay. I used to know a guy who worked in refrigeration, back when things ran. He told me once the human body can go about 3 days without water. But that's textbook talk. Out here, it's not that simple. Depends on the heat, the shade, how much you move. I've gone longer, I think. Once made it to the 5th day, but I wasn't moving much by then. Just breathing and waiting. I keep thinking about birds. You don't see many anymore. Once in a while, a hawk, circling low, looking for movement. But the little ones, sparrows, robins, the kind you'd hear in the morning, they're gone. One day, they just stopped singing. I didn't notice it at first, not really. But then, I woke up one morning and the silence hit me so hard it felt like pressure in my chest. I sat up fast, thinking something was wrong. And it was. Just not in the way I thought. Sometimes I walk into old buildings just to smell what's left. Dry wood, rusted iron, sometimes the faint sting of ammonia. You start reading places like you'd read people. The smells, the heat, how the light falls through broken windows. You know if someone's been there recently. You can feel it, like a trace in the air. People leave behind energy somehow. I still carry this old wind-up radio. Doesn't pick up anything now. Hasn't for a long time. I wind it anyway, just to hear the static. There's something comforting about it. Like maybe a voice will come through if I just wait long enough. Like the world's just late, not dead. I remember the first time it rained after the shutdowns. It wasn't even real rain. Just a weird chemical drizzle from the sky. Probably fallout from the fires up north. Smelled like burned plastic and metal. But people still came outside. Stood with their arms out, laughing, crying, coughing. I didn't join them. I stayed under cover. Something in me said not to trust it. Next day, half of them were sick. Some never got up again. That's when I stopped hoping for weather. Rain stopped meaning life. There were government broadcasts in the early weeks. Emergency messages. Stay indoors, conserve water, remain calm. I remember one voice in particular. Calm, female, very practiced. You could tell she was reading a script, but she tried to sound like she cared. We are working on long-term solutions. That's what she said. Over and over. Then it all went quiet, static, then silence. No one said goodbye. I knew it was really over the day the truck stopped. Not the looters, the water trucks. They used to come around once a week, escorted by guards. People would line up for hours, hoping for one of those rationed bottles. The kind with the little flag printed on the side. When they missed a week, folks thought it was just logistics. But when the second week came and went, panic started to spread. Not the loud kind. Not at first. It was like a nervous quiet. People stopped talking much. Just watched the road. Watched the sky. Waited. Then the fighting started. Not over land or money or politics. Just water. I saw a man stabbed over a single bottle. Just a half-liter. Wasn't even cold. I left the town not long after. I figured crowds were a risk. More mouths, more desperation. Out here, it's lonelier. But safer. Mostly. I don't stay in one place long. Settling means you'll get noticed. People still roam, especially the ones who've lost more than just homes. Some are quiet, like me, just trying to make it. But others, you can feel when they're near. Something goes tense in the air, like animals before a storm. They don't talk, don't barter. If they see something they want, they take it. Or try. You learn fast. Don't show anything useful. Don't make a fire. Don't cook where the smell carries. No light at night, unless it's hidden. I had a bike for a while. One of those tough mountain types. Got me a good few 100 miles until the chain snapped and I couldn't fix it. Left it behind. There's a kind of grief when you lose things now. Even small things. I remember how it felt just to pedal. Wind on your face. Not fast, but enough to feel alive. Like motion itself was proof you were still here. Found this place I'm using now. This tower. About 2 months ago, I think. Hard to tell. Old relay station. Power grid's long gone, but there's solar on the roof. Cracked, but workable. Spent 2 days rewiring with salvaged wire and duct tape. Got the transmitter up on the 3rd try. Signal's weak, I know. But it's something. Some of the switches are finicky. Gotta hold them in place with broken screwdrivers or pipe fittings. I use a car battery for storage. Recharge it during the day. Just enough juice to talk. Not enough to waste. I usually test the mic around this time. Late afternoon, when the sun starts to dip and the static isn't so bad. Voice carries better when the air cools. Or so I tell myself. Might just be habit now. Some nights I think I hear a reply, a click, a pop, a breath. But it might be just my head playing tricks. Hope echoes. That's the thing. You shout long enough into silence, and after a while, your brain starts sending back answers just to keep you going. When the wind picks up, real wind, dry and hot, the antenna on the roof shudders, and the signal starts to dip. Sometimes I wait until nightfall, when things quiet down, and other times I just talk through the static. Like now. It doesn't really matter anymore whether anyone hears. What matters is not falling silent, not letting myself go quiet. I found a pack of batteries marked good until 2027. Kinda funny, right? Somebody back then thought we'd make it to 2027. That there'd still be outlets, stocked shelves, working flashlights. I put one in this little pocket cassette player. Only one tape. A country music mix. It crackles like rain on a tin roof. But I listen. Especially in the morning, while it's still bearable outside. Helps me get up. Helps me not die in my head. Even if the body's still kicking. Once I found a working shower, a plastic tank up on the roof of an old house. Someone must have set it up long ago. One of those people who still had hope. There was even a little spout, a black hose running down. Still some water inside. Filthy. Stinking. But I stood under it anyway. Just stood there until it all drained out. I wasn't washing. I just needed to feel it. Water on skin. It's like a touch you forgot existed. I almost cried then, but I couldn't. Tears are a luxury. Sometimes I talk to myself. Not out loud, not always. Just in my head. I build conversations, like someone's there. Asking things, nodding, agreeing or arguing. It helps me stay together. Humans need reflection. Without it, we start to blur out. I've started to believe that without someone else's eyes, we start disappearing. Not literally. Worse than that. I haven't remembered faces in a long time. At first, they were with me every night. My mother, my brother, the girl who used to sing on her balcony. Then, less and less. Now it's like they've faded. I remember the feeling of them, their voices, the way they tilted their heads or turned to speak, but not the features. Sometimes I try and can't describe them. I just know they were real, and that's the scariest thing. Not the dying, not the solitude, but that your memory turns to fog. You become a ghost before you're even gone. I saw a child once, a real one, maybe 6 miles southwest of here, near the old bridge. He was walking with 2 adults, maybe parents, maybe just whoever was left. They didn't see me. I stayed hidden, didn't move an inch, just watched. The kid was barefoot, had a blue baseball cap, too big, slipping down over his ears. I remember that cap better than I remember most people. Part of me wanted to call out. Wave. Say, hey, I'm here. I'm not a threat. But I didn't. Couldn't. People are dangerous now, even the ones who might save you. We don't know how to trust anymore. Once I had a dream, not vivid, just warm and strange. I was standing in this huge white room, no walls, no ceiling, just light and a soft breeze, and someone's hand. A woman's, maybe. I never saw her face, just her palm touching my cheek. She didn't say anything, didn't move, just was there. I woke up crying, dry tears. Just the knowledge that something was missing, even if I couldn't name it. This tower won't hold much longer. Power's going. The solar panels are coated in dust, not even enough rain to clean them off. Scrubbing them by hand is risky. They're cracked, brittle. I've already shattered one by accident. And the wires, they're getting stiff, insulation crumbling. One surge and it all goes up. I think I'll move on. South, maybe. There were rumors once about a reservoir holding out down there, or underground wells. I don't know. Might have been just talk. But there's nothing left here. And this kind of loneliness, it starts to ring in your bones, gets in your head. Not because you're alone, but because you know no one's coming. No one's on the way. No one's looking. If anyone hears this, know that I tried. I didn't give up. I didn't go down easy like some did. I lived. Not always well, not always right. But I stayed alive. Kept the light going when I could. Sometimes in myself. Sometimes just in the little fire I lit under the tank at night. You, if you're listening, if there's still a you out there, keep going. Just keep going. Even if there's nothing left. Even if every step's heavy and your tongue's stuck to the roof of your mouth. Just one more. Then one more after that. I don't know how much longer I can talk. The signal's fading, I think. But I'll keep broadcasting, as long as the battery holds. As long as my hands can twist the wires. As long as I've got a voice. Bye.